Hey y'all, it's Kirk. So Ask Dr. Kirk, episode 25, back up in a tree. My longtime listener, Harmonia, asked, Dr. Kirk, when are you going to get back up in a tree? I told you I'd give you a shout out, girl. So here we go. Today's episode brought to you by Dad's Calls. We had a great turkey season. Never too late to look into some of the greatest handmade turkey calls, the ones that I use and made by one of the greatest guys I know, and Jerry White. Check out the link below for Dad's Calls. Okay, so today's question actually comes from several people, but I'm going to give credit to Chris from Hazelhurst, Georgia. Many of y'all asked about ganglion cysts. So here we go. Ganglion cyst. What the heck is a ganglion cyst? All right, so Dr. Kirk, simple, like you want from me. When two bones come together, that's technically considered a joint. When bone and cartilage come together, that's actually considered a joint too. When things come together, so the orthopedist will tell you that's technically a joint. Major joints have fluid in them naturally, so something called synovial fluid, and that's just the way God made it. Synovial fluid helps things to move, and it's kind of like a lubricant, so the joint can perform correctly. Well, synovial fluid is supposed to be in the joint. When synovial fluid is outside of the joint, the body does exactly the way God designed and says, hey, this is something that shouldn't be there. So in order to protect the rest of the body, let's form this nice little capsule around that stuff that's not supposed to be there to protect the rest of the body from it. So I think it's doing the right thing, but that's what cysts are. So a ganglion cyst is actually a collection of synovial fluid. So ganglion cysts are typically outside of joints, where synovial fluid has been sequestered by the body in a defensive kind of mechanism. The most common place, of course, is on the wrist. That's where you usually see these things. Gosh, I want to say up to 70% of them is the last thing that I read is going to be cyst. This typically happens between the most common time is 20-year-old to 40-year-old. It can happen in kids. Usually those spontaneously go away. But these things don't have to necessarily happen under injury. Sometimes it's not a whole lot of what you did or didn't do. These things can just form. So here's the deal with them. Unfortunately, they're quite a booger to get rid of. So as long as they're not bothering anything, then a lot of times we don't do anything about them. In fact, a lot of them spontaneously go away on their own. Up to 53% is what the literature will tell you will go away spontaneously on its own. So unless it's really bothering you or really bothering function, a lot of times we don't do a whole lot about it. With it being on the wrist is wonderfully complicated, again, by God's design to do all these awesome movements that the wrist can do. There's a lot of bones involved in there. So a lot of bones touching means a lot of joints. So that, as you can imagine, with a lot of joints present in this one little area, that's why ganglion cysts are more common there in the wrist, and they form. So there are some ways to take care of it. So at the first sign of it, you were supposed to do some compression, and sometimes some splinting can help, and these things will spontaneously go away. Compression early appears to be one of the best things you can do. However, once these things form as a cyst, they're just kind of there, and it's a lump. If it's affecting your wrist movement and there's pain involved, then a lot of time, an orthopedist will take care of it, because you can needle aspirate these and take the fluid out. There is surgical excision where they actually open you up and try to find where the synovial fluid's coming out of the joint and maybe zap that. Here's the bad news on that. With aspiration and with surgical excision, the recurrence rates within 2 to 5 years is in the 40s to 50, almost 50%. So these things can reoccur. Maybe after you get them excised and drained and these kind of things, maybe when you catch them starting to return early, you can do the compression and you get rid of it. I don't know. I'm saying wrist, but understand anytime there's a joint, you can get it anywhere. So we've seen these on the major joints, on the knees, the shoulders, can occur spinal even. But this most commonly there in the wrist. Little historical stuff, you might have heard the phrase Bible book cysts. Now, I'm going to tell you this as a historical fact. Please do not try this at home. Okay? There's my disclaimer. But these things used to be called Bible book cysts. Okay? That's an old phrase. You might still hear it around. But back in the day, the Bible was such an important thing in a family household that households had this giant Bible in the middle of the house that had typically a firm wooden cover to it. So this big old thick thing. And so whenever you got one of these cysts, what did they do? They took that big old heavy Bible and they slammed it on your wrist and broke the cyst so that the fluid would dissipate in your tissues. So, yeah, Bible book cyst. Don't do that. Please don't do that. If you got a big, awesome, cool Bible in the middle of your house, I mean, that's just things just cool, man. Don't assault people with it. But anyway, everybody that asked about ganglion cysts, I hope this helps to define some things for you. Not great news on the treatment of them, but another thing I should say is that if you do want to get something done about it, I'm gonna say this and get myself in trouble. Insurance-wise, it needs to be causing you a whole lot of discomfort or impeding your motion, because otherwise, if it's just unsightly to you, then that's considered cosmetic. And some insurances might say that's just cosmetic surgery and they're not going to pay for it. I said that, but I didn't say that. Anyway, hope this helps. Love you guys. Mean it. Jesus loves you. Happy to be back up in a tree. See y'all next time.